Very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We do have Mr. Arnab Goswami, Editor-in-Chief, Times Now, here with us, and also Mr. Sam Balsara. I'll be reading out, though of course none of them require an introduction, but I'll be reading out a brief profile. Request you to please take your place on the stage. Mr. Arnab Goswami, Editor-in-Chief, Times Now, the most watched news anchor in India, ranked among the 50 most powerful Indians by the India Today and Indian Express newspapers. Mr. Goswami is considered among the most forthright political commentators in the Indian media, recipient of several awards, including Ramnath Goenka Award, the Haldi Ghati Award, the Asian Television Awards, and the Indian News Broadcasting Awards. Thank you for taking the time. Mr. Sam Balsara, Chairman and Managing Director, Madison World. Yes, where is the applause? Economic Times brand equity ad agency Reckoner ranks Mr. Balsara as India's most influential media person for the last 6 consecutive years. He's also the recipient of the Advertising Agencies Association of India's Lifetime Achievement Award and the Ad Club of Kolkata's Hall of Fame Award. Mr. Balsara was also featured in Campaign's Global Power List 2010, and he has 40 years experience in marketing and advertising. We're looking forward to a very infotainment type of a session, is it? Yeah?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Brace yourselves for a very interesting session because we have a very interesting guest. In the metaphor of TV, my guest tonight, none other than Arnab Goswami, who needs no introduction whatsoever to this audience. Why this audience? In fact, the whole of India. And now, for some of you who may know, his name and fame has crossed the oceans and gone over to the United States. Day before yesterday, he was featured on American television. For those of you who didn't know, and there were only 2 people who were featured on that fantastic show. It was by a comedian, John Oliver, if I remember the name right. And he was featured along with our Prime Minister in waiting. And you know, it takes a lot. You have to be someone who's really made it to be featured on a comedy show in the United States on a television channel. I watch Arnab Goswami, and more importantly, my wife watches me watching him, and she often says, and she often tells me loudly that I fear for this man's life. If you know him, why don't you tell him to go easy? So I say, just relax, Homai. I mean, it's only a television show. Yes, yes. And so let's dive into my first question. I've met Arnab several times before, and I see the man Arnab Goswami as so different from the way my wife sees him on television. So just now I had a 15-minute chat with him, and I cannot imagine how this man transforms himself when there's a camera in front of him. I mean, he is, I don't know what. So Arnab, how does that happen? Yes. I mean, I'm always the same, whether in front of the camera or off it. Whereas for you, when you're talking to me and everyone, you're so soft, gentle, nice, and suddenly there's a camera and wow, I'm taking you on, even if I don't need to.
Sam, you're enjoying this now. First you say that I've appeared on a comedy show.
But I also said only people who made it can hope to get onto a comedy show. So I come on ordinary shows. I've not yet made it to a comedy show. You have. And in the company of Namo.
And I'm also worried about my health. because truly, this is the only place where people feel they can't hear me loudly enough. There are entire channels built around noise nowadays. Sam, I am very worried about my health. Nowadays, increasingly as the elections approach, I feel more than my guess I'm going to burst an artery one of these days. With 7 boxes on all sides of you. But first of all, let me say that I'm very flattered to be talking to you, Sam. I have great respect for you, regard for you, know it. And I am very grateful to this audience which has spent time this afternoon to hear this conversation. I'm flattered, I'm indebted. I rarely come out of the studio, so thank you very much. This is the city where I built my career, so when I come back, a lot of memories come back to me. Sam, you know, I was telling you that when I started my career in Times Now in 2006, what I did was very different.
Yes, please tell everyone what
It was
you did.
very different. And someone showed me the other day, they said, come to the viewing gallery, we want to show you your tape. I said, now what have I done? Because usually my producers call me after the show for a faux pas, some legal case. I said, overstated a case, etc. And I spend 1 hour every morning with the lawyers of Times Now. But they said, we want to show you your own tape. And I saw my tape from on the night of January 31st, 2006, Sam. It was the first episode of News Hour. Nobody must be watching. Our distribution was poor. The channel was hardly known. And it was the last channel to be launched. People said, what is Times Now? It should be called Times When, because it's never going to launch. I saw that tape and I was very unsure, Sam. I looked nervous, unsure of myself, and very conscious of what was happening around me. I would say that in my first interview on the News Hour on that night, compared to now, I was almost submissive.
2006.
2006. And I'm being very honest because, you know, Sam, I'm not Superman of news. I have been through my learning curve. And it carried on that way. Some people say that when we can't reconcile the Arnab we meet or the Arnab of 2006 with now, they say, oh, you must be putting up this act. But every person goes through some learning curve, right, Sam? So I went through 3-4 solid learning curves. I went through a huge learning curve, and I keep repeating this story every day, that one day when that boy fell into the well, Prince fell into the well, and some people said, you know, it's a Hindi channel kind of story, we won't do it, we're just letting you know about it. When we ran that story for 24 hours, Sam, and when Naveen Jindal and all the others landed in Kurukshetra, and when we opened the phone lines, and we asked one question, is this story of Prince the limit of government apathy? Because the job of filling up the manhole is the government. So you magnify a local story, build it to a national context, and then force people all over saying that, you know, don't remain quiet about it. This can happen to your child too. So news for the first time, Sam, began connecting to the people's hearts. When I did the news on January 31st, 2006, I was not connecting to people's hearts. I don't know if I'm telling you what I mean. I was not connecting. I was connecting to my rundown, my news headlines as a typical journalist. And this, what happened on Prince is very important because 10 years earlier in 1996, my first news editor, Appan Menon, he had told me that, Arnab, we want you to cover the story. I think it is Tagore International School or some school. A child had fallen into a ditch and they didn't know whether the child will survive. And I had gone and told Appan that, Appan, I don't want to do this story. And Appan said, why? I said, you know, Appan, I want to do big stories. I want to do economic affairs, foreign policy, and I am from Oxford University, I am this and that. And Appan said, one day, Arnab, you will realize that this story of a child falling into a ditch is more important, you know, than any other story. I believe the transformation began the day I began to realize that the search for ratings is not complete unless it comes from the heart. And when you bat with a straight bat in life, Sam, like if you feel angry, you're angry. If you feel sad, you're sad. If something upsets you, you are upset. If you want to fight and disagree, you are upset. And you ask yourself that regardless of who I am upsetting, I'm going to be honest to my job. This is why I became a journalist. So that transformation happened between 2006 and 2008. And it's a natural progression, but somewhere it got fossilized in the 100 hours when I spent inside the studio during 2611. I'll keep it short. Sam, you see, you've called me. There's a great danger, I must warn you. My questions are usually 5 minutes. My answers can go into an hour. So I want to be interrupted, and you feel free to interrupt me. But it got fossilized, Sam, in that 2611 episode. Because I have never in my life gone so deep into experiencing a story, experiencing it, that I did in 2611. Because you know what happened in 2611, Sam? There was no face of Arnab Goswami on the screen most of the time. If you remember 2611, you won't remember my face, you'll only remember my voice. And I told the producers, I said, you know what, this is not my story. My producer said, you want to go outside Taj, go outside Pride? I said, not my story. You just stay with the pictures and let me talk over it. I began to live that story. And when I came out of the studio after 3 or 4 days of non-stop anchoring, I realized that, you know what, this is journalism. And for a person like me who was about to quit journalism in 2000, Sam, because I was about to quit this profession in 2000, as a 27-year-old, I didn't want to remain a journalist. It was a big transformation. So I have actually sort of evolved over a period of time. And one last line, on the news hour, Sam, I just let go nowadays. And some people, just.
And I think it
enjoy.
shows, right?
That's.
So tell me, knowing the times of India and the smart guys your promoters are, there must have been a well-researched, well-thought-through blueprint before you decided to launch Times Now. Today, was there a blueprint, first of all, in terms of how different would you be from NDTV 24/7, since you're a latecomer, and how we'll capture the market and how we'll get more viewers, or surely you didn't want to be just a Me Too to NDTV.
Yeah.
So there must have been some positioning, some thinking that how we'll be different. So,
you can't put it in an Excel sheet, And you can have the world's best brand positioning statement, etc., but as they say, when a cricketer goes out to bat, he bats. You can keep doing the analysis, weather will be like this, humidity, the ball will come like this, I will bat like this, and then it will go past gully. But when you go to bat, you just go to bat. So what we do is we go to bat every morning. And when we go to bat every morning, I say that, by the end of today, the most important issue should be associated with Times Now, the most important issue of the day, and we just go and bat. That's it. So you live and you grow. But there is one line we used, which actually, when we started the channel, we did use the tagline, feel the news. And I coined that line. So I wanted people to have an experience of news getting under your skin, almost, where you experience the news, you feel the news. Because somewhere I believed, and this is no criticism of what the doyens of journalism have done before me, because there are many before me, and I am just one passing phase now, and there'll be many after me. But I did feel that it was too removed. News was too removed from the reality of this country. It was not touching people hard enough, and I also began to realize that in this country, unless you overemphasize a point which needs to be made, nobody pays any attention. It appalls me, Sam, it appalls me that in this country, not far from where you are, there will be Khap Panchayats where a father rapes a daughter, right? And the Khap meets and says to the father, marry your daughter and leave our village, right? Now, if asking a question like that gets you banned by the Aam Aadmi Party, and if Yogendra Yadav tells you, you know what, we don't like your tone, so we won't send anyone on your channel. So I say, so be it, don't come. I'm not going to change what I do because it just appalls me, Sam. And Sam, I'm just around 40 years old. I have another 10, 15 years max, right? In this profession, or maybe 20, if you give me a long leash. Don't look at me like that. I can continue 30 years if you want.
News anchors go on
So I'll continue, I'll continue 30 years. I'll continue till I'm 70 then, say 30 more years, right?
News
Fine, no
anchors
problem.
and advertising people.
Yeah, no problem, Sam, I'll continue. But the point is, I want to make it fruitful, Sam. I genuinely want to make it fruitful, and I feel that somewhere news got very far removed. Don't you think so? You know, news got far removed from the way people think, and the basic, I also realized the young people of this country are not a bunch of status quoists, Sam. And there is a great opportunity for news to reflect their aspirations and their anger in a pretty straightforward manner.
So tell me, somewhere along the line, did you or your promoters see Fox News and feel, this is what India needs? You know, NDTV and all are on BBC and CNN and all. I'm going to go this way.
Huh?
Is it?
Why? Anurag is saying, no, I didn't give him that question. It's all, ask me anything. You see, walk me up to the guillotine this afternoon. Ask me those questions, Sam. I want to answer them.
Please, so.
I swear upon you, I never watched Fox News. I watch it now because people tell me you like Fox News, so I want to know who the hell am I like. And I don't always like what I see. Certainly I'll tell you that I find the production quality of some American channels quite astounding. And if you were to tell me, I think the production quality of Fox News is good, but we are not editorially Fox News at all. How can you be? How can you be? We are not a two-party country. We're not a one-language country. We're not a Democrat-Republican country. You know, we have so much diversity. So trust me, we have never, you know, if someone wants to believe that we are an Indian version of Fox News, they've got it completely wrong. You know, we pick up issues which are non-political and make them big. What we did during the Anna movement is no Indian variant of Fox News, Sam. And I want to know which scam, the equivalent of the CWG scam, did those doyens of American journalism ever break? Between June 2010 and January 2011, 6 scams, one after the other, Sam, we stuck our neck out. I want to know, in all the years of American television, I have great respect for them. Tell me, after Watergate, till now, has there ever been a series of scams in America which boasts of the strongest democracy and the strongest media tradition? No country in the world, Sam, has been shaken by exposés as much as Times Now did during that period of 2010, 2011. So we are not interpreting anyone else's television to be our own. We are following our own model. We have our own values. And we are 100% an Indian English news channel. That's it.
You know, let me talk to the audience. I'm tempted, or I'm reminded of a statement made by Arnab's colleague maybe a few decades ago, the editor of Times of India. And he said, I hold the second most important job in the country. That was the time when we didn't have Times Now. So Arnab, do you feel you now hold the most important job in the country, especially just now, election time, you are going to install the new Prime Minister?
Absolutely.
No, be frank. You
I'm
said
totally
feel.
frank.
Do you feel it?
I am totally frank, and provoke me as much as you want, Sam. Trust me. Trust me.
I'm not provoking you.
This is a passing phase in Indian journalism. My head is on my shoulders and my feet are on the ground. I come from very humble roots. I am a self-made man. I do not belong to any circuit, nor do I overemphasize my own importance. I tell you, Sam, I have a favorite saying, that if you take a buffalo and you put it on TV at 9 o'clock every night, I tell myself, be a very famous buffalo. What I'm saying to you is very simple, Sam. I am a journalist who does an honest program. It so happens that today my program and my channel are doing well. Now, if I begin to strut around and say, you know, I am the mover and shaker, I'll be fooling myself. Because I have seen and read about media in other countries enough to put what is happening in India in a certain context. So I think I live in Mumbai and I work out of a small studio, one of the smallest studios in Lower Parel. Smallest studios, by the way. It's not one of the biggest, fanciest facilities. One of the smallest studios, very young people. You've come to my studio, Sam. It's small, tiny, we work out of that place. When we started, we had 5 OB vans. NDTV had more than 30. When people tell me now, bade channel banane ke liye bahut infrastructure chahiye, I said I started with 5 OB vans. We had a lot of passion. So for me, I have no feeling that I'm a very important person.
Tell me another
I'm
thing.
pretty rooted and enough to know that nothing lasts.
Is it by design that I keep seeing the same faces on NewsHour? I watch NewsHour pretty regularly. So one of the things that always sort of surprises me that, yes, I want to see how Arnab is tackling these guys and how he's putting them in the dock and how these guys are sweating. And I like all that. But tell me, why is it that with such alarming frequency, I see the same faces? I mean, is that in your control?
No,
or does that, it's not in your control?
No, it's not totally in my control.
Why?
Because all these parties, they nominate people, you see. And they somehow feel that some people are good at tackling me. So I was told Congress party had a briefing where one of the persons said, this Congress spokesman said, that all the politicians were on stage and one person goes and says, oh, you are Arnab Goswami, now talk like him. And this person starts talking like me. And the spokesperson goes on and there's this whole contest which goes on. At the end of which they realize the best way to tackle me is never to stop. So if you've noticed, I have very often seen, I have told the Congress spokesman, why don't you stop? And now the BJP guys watch it, they say that's a good strategy. So we have both of them talking together at the same time. And you are caught in the middle of this. And people tell me, why do you do this? I'm a victim, Sam. I'm a victim. I'm not a choreographer. So I also start shouting them sometimes. Now that's why I told you I'm genuinely concerned about my health. I have a lot of doctor friends who tell me that I should get a proper medical checkup after every show.
No. I think as long as NewsHour is on, you don't need a medical checkup. In fact, it's a automatic de-stressor for you.
I am telling you, Sam, apart from the little bit of makeup which I put on, there is nothing artificial about the NewsHour. And I think people know it. TV is a totally transparent medium. It's you go with the flow. That's it.
So tell me, Arnab, I am, as I think I told you, and by now you would have realized, an avid news watcher. And I often feel that you guys actually switch me off. Because when I watch news, say not NewsHour, when I watch news, I would like to watch it for maybe about half an hour. But you actually do everything possible that in 15 minutes I'll switch off and I'll try and watch something else. Because now you're beginning to repeat yourself so much in those first 15 minutes. 3 times you tell me the same thing. That pisses me off. I mean, don't you want me to keep watching you? And then how can you tell me within
No, I repeat. I mean,
No, not you. I'm talking now of your channel.
Okay.
I mean, the same news item, you know, I'm hearing the same thing.
No, what is the item? I mean, what is the Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, or Narendra Modi?
No, not say for example, dog fell in the well. Now you told me once, in 15 minutes you tell me 3 times, dog fell in the well, dog fell in the well, dog. I mean, not consecutively. I mean, every 5th minute you'll tell me, why? I mean, I've heard you once, now tell me something else. There's no shortage of news, right?
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you a story. And I want to tell this audience a story in response. You see, first I'll tell you 2 things. I studied in a Kendriya Vidyalaya, Sam. And I went...
You studied at Oxford, my friend.
No, Oxford I went later. You see, the problem is this Oxford group wants to co-opt me. But please remember, I am from Kendriya Vidyalaya Gun Carriage Factory number 1, Jabalpur. I started my career, I was not living in a fancy hostel, Sam. I used to live in a place, I don't know if you know. It's called Bhai Parmanand Colony, which is, you see, in Delhi University, Sam, you get into a hostel, fine. Then there are strata, depending upon your ability and means. So there is Mukherjee Nagar, Vijay Nagar. There is Hudson Lines, Kingsway Camp. And those who Can't go to Kingsway camp, go beyond, which is a place called Bhai Parmanand Colony. So I studied in Bhai Parmanand Colony. I know this city and I know the news because I've been privileged not to be in an insulated setup when I was in college. In my first year of college, it's a long answer, please hear me. In my first year of college, the first day I land in college, and suddenly I find that every student is being taken to jail. Because from Kranti Chowk to Delhi University campus, everybody was in the middle of the throes of the Mandal Commission agitation. That day, people asked me, which caste are you from? And they said, Goswami, this are you related to Rajiv Goswami. First day I realized my caste. My generation has been destroyed by this politics. Okay? Because my first year, we realized what is caste. Second year, I realized I'm watching a film and coming back from Chanakya, and we were wearing bandanas like college students when we are on bikes, and the guy stopped me and they say that, why are you driving? I said, we're coming from a movie. They said, no, but don't you know Babri Masjid, that thing, you should not be driving through Chandni Chowk like that. So in my second year, my generation is split by religion. So do you realize the bitterness and resentment that my generation, 60 or 70% of our toppers in college left this country. Today, they all want to come back, but they really fled from this country because they saw this country's politics totally divided. Okay? So you must be thinking, why am I answering this question in the context of your pretty, different question on why I repeat things? And I began to see that if in a news bulletin you put one story, the politician does not even notice Sam. If the Commonwealth Games scam was to be a 2-minute story in a 24-minute bulletin, do you think Suresh Kalmadi would have resigned? Now I'll tell you another story. On 25th December 2011, we are sitting through and we are planning our Christmas holiday, and someone says that a story has come, do you want to pick it up? And this story is about a 17-year-old girl. Mayawati is in power in Uttar Pradesh. She is raped by her employer, who is an MLA from the BSP. Okay, so she is a bold girl. This is before Nirbhaya, Sam, much before Nirbhaya. She goes to the police station and she says, "Mujhe MLA ke khilaf case darj karna hai." You know what the MLA does? The MLA calls the police station, says, "Isne chori ki hai." The girl, after being raped, is put in lockup for 1 week. We pick up the story, and not for 3 hours, Sam, but for 7 days, non-stop. Non-stop, 7 days we do only that story. And why I get angry is because when I see movies like People Live, they talk about how all these Obi-Wans land in a village and discover what is India. I tell you, Sam, when that MLA was finally arrested, when Mayawati told him to come out, and jab wo jail gaya, this country, its women and a lot of youngsters had felt a genuine sense of empowerment. So I remember the country I grew up in college in 1990 to 1993. Then I say 2010 to 2013. And so when that in 1992, I would never imagine that an MLA from a ruling party would go in jail for what was considered a small crime of raping his domestic servant. But you cannot do it in India in 2013. Now, how does that relate to your question? It relates in the simple way that if you want to hammer home a point, if you want to hammer home a point, if you want to go after something, don't diminish it. And very often this decision is that of the editor, Sam. The editor, depending on his ability to take pressure, resist pressure, decides what to play up and what to play down. And very often I find that people say that not playing up a story in a big way is good journalism. But then I don't agree with it. So very often when we are pointing out an issue and going relentlessly after one subject, it is because we want that subject to go to its logical conclusion.
You want some action out of it, and you want the powers that be to take some concrete action. No, that's wonderful.
We want response, Sam. We really want the system to respond to us. And when the system responds to us, I know that a lot of people feel empowered. And we have done it openly, honestly, without any motive, not for ratings. Trust me, there are many other ways to get ratings than breaking scams or taking on powerful people. And I want to say one more thing. We don't take on people when they are out of power. If you remember, and I want to tell this audience this, you will remember that when we were taking on the UPA government in 2010, it had just been elected. It had just been elected. So it's all right, people say you mess around with somebody when they are out, leaving power or out of power, but we don't do that. We have consistently taken on people, and somewhere I believe in that, we have become the voice of the people more than media in the past was. I think that's where the change has happened.
So tell me, when you are thinking of planning out your day's bulletin, I mean, do you have a guideline or something in your head which says, if I do this, my ratings will go up. If I do that, it won't work. I say this for a specific reason. I heard about a month ago that news channels in general, not only yours, have come to the conclusion that if they feature up, a story on up, ratings go up, viewership increases. If they show BJP, it stays where it is or it goes up a little. And if they talk about the Congress, it goes down. I mean, do you do such analysis?
No, never.
Do you do such, or do you get feedback like this? That
No, let me tell you one thing. If I ask for such feedback, I'm sure there are enough research agencies. If I ask them, they'll tell me, we'll tell you exactly the formula. I can today hire 20 agencies to say, give me a formula to outdo Times Now. And they will tell you in words and sheets, and they will give you a full presentation and take a lot of money also. And they'll tell you that we'll tell you the formula. As I began by saying, news is
no formula.
News is from the heart, Sam. News is actually from the heart. It is not in any formula. And as far as Aam Aadmi Party is how Arvind Kejriwal, the only channel he's not speaking to is Times Now. They have boycotted us for the last, I don't know, since November. My ratings have not fallen. But if I do a soft interview with Arvind Kejriwal, my ratings will fall. You understand what happened? It's a question of credibility. Now what happens is, I'll tell you one thing. When Suresh Kalmadi was in that process of where he said, I'll file a legal suit, this is not Times Now. Remember that? We'll finish Times Now and all that. So one day I saw on another channel, I will not name, where it was said explosive interview with Suresh Kalmadi. And all of us said it is our story, but the guys are giving an interview somewhere else. But the explosive, never seen before. Suresh Kalmadi, bare salt, tells the truth about the CWG scam, 8 p.m. tonight. And we all said, and we watched this channel today. And this anchor comes, and he says, Mr. Suresh Kalmadi, I want to ask you a direct question. Are all the charges against you, are they all false? And Suresh Kalmadi said, yes. Breaking news, Suresh Kalmadi says all charges are false. I'd never do that, Sam. For me, I'd never give up my integrity for an interview or an exclusive. I sometimes get exclusive interviews, and off late I'm not getting many.
And you have yourself to blame.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, let's move the subject to something a little softer. And I bring this up in the context of your famous Rahul Gandhi interview. And, whilst of course that interview was heralded and you did a fantastic job, somehow the emotion that the interview evoked from me as an individual is, I felt sorry for Rahul Gandhi. And you actually made me, so I didn't think of him as, oh, what a poor leader or what a poor prime minister he'll make. Somehow I always knew he'll make a poor prime minister. But I felt so sorry for him. The poor guy was so helpless in front. You're towering over him and giving it to him from all sides. He didn't know which way to look. And very often I find, that was not the desired emotion. Right? So, and I feel that now, are you feeling that when somebody comes on your channel, they are coming so well prepared that you're going to attack them that they put up a facade in turn of,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, so whereas
Yeah, it happens on my show now. Before I ask the first question, there are 4 hands which go up. I don't know what they're answering, asking. You see, now Rahul Gandhi interview. I think the important thing was that it was Rahul's first interview. And for me, the important thing was to ask everything possible in a short period of time. And Sam, you understand that every interview is not done thinking you are going to get a headline. I have seen interviewers, nowadays some interviewers before an interview and says, you know, give me a headline, please give me a headline. You're not going to get a headline out of a politician necessarily. But the focus is going to be on you. I think I did a so-so job. Frankly, if you ask me, I could have done much better in the Rahul interview, but it ended up getting talked about because people felt I was persistent.
correct.
Now you say you feel sorry. That's an emotion you evoke. You know, my worry would be if somebody were to say that to get an interview, this guy wore his kid gloves and went for the interview. You know, for me, that was the only thought in my mind. Yeah, absolutely. Because when you are, you know, there are so many critics, and in any case, people would think, why would they give Arnab an interview? He's not been a pro-Congress guy for the last 5 years, or a pro-BJP for that matter. So for me, the worry was to retain my and my channel's credibility after the interview. As simple as that.
Since we've got a room full of advertising, media and marketing people, I would have thought that the Times, which is, you know, the master at promotion, after having got this interview, which was indeed a brilliant move,
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't promote it adequately before on various medium or media of the Times of India group. I mean, there was more talk about the interview post rather than pre. So, you know, you could have missed out on so many viewers, because so many people who don't view Times now or view news channels would have liked to see this interview.
If you notice, the interview ran at the 9 p.m. news hour slot. So by virtue of doing that, we had a lot of default viewing. We also had a good
what I meant is I didn't see it in the Times of India for 1 week in advance.
You don't need to do that. You don't necessarily need to do that for a TV interview. If the interview is big, it will be talked about. I think it shows our confidence in Times now. We're so confident that people will watch us and I think a lot of people did watch that interview.
I think everybody in this room did.
Yeah.